Buenas tardes. Hoy voy a hablar de los premios. Oh, I'm going to speak in English instead of Spanish. I got mixed up with my languages. Today I'm going to talk about rewards and punishment on the international level. We have leaders on the international level, and they are human beings, and they have backgrounds, and they may have been rewarded and punished massively in their earlier lives, and they may be used to that, and maybe that's why some of them become leaders, because there are so many nowadays who have this tendency to have war, which would be a punishment, or to reward other, like, let's say there's a powerful country and their leader or leaders, some of their leaders, could reward a developing country. One of their leaders could be a dictator, reward them with money in exchange for allowing the richer country to whatever the richer country needs, or feels they need for their interests, which could be the interests of the leaders, not the actual country. In both cases, it could be the leaders, and probably is the leaders themselves to a great extent, who get the rewards. An example of this could be companies, large companies that go to the third world nation and give a reward to the leadership in exchange for being allowed to have their companies go and use the natural resources, which actually don't belong to the leader, but he has power and he allows them to exploit those natural resources and human resources by doing their business there. And these leaders may give some kind of a reward to these dictators. This is an example on the international scale. The answer to this problem is what the non-aligned nations discovered, and that is communication. If a country and another country wants something, instead of saying, do what we say or we're going to have a war, this is not communication. This is manipulation. Instead of manipulation, they discovered communication, where each country is supposed to tell what they need and to the other country, to their leaders. The leaders would get together, and the other country would tell them what they need, and then they would try to work together to try to get both sides as best they could, maybe not 100%. It wouldn't be an ultimatum the way it is now, with the very rich countries very often giving the ultimatum to everybody else, do it our way or we're going to have a war, or we're going to do something else, we're going to have sanctions. That would be another. That is something which causes death to many people. The sanctions, when they can't get what they need to live, they get, because of the sanctions or the embargoes, such as the one we have with Cuba, a lot of people may not be able to get what they need when they have an embargo by a strong country against their country. Instead of using those methods, there are communication methods where people talk to each other and explain situations about what they need and why things may not be working the way they are and they need to be changed or whatever. Through communication, this is the solution for rewards and punishments, is when people communicate, and that would go all the way down to children, talking to children, telling them what is needed and what is reality, instead of giving them ultimatums, instead of saying, if you do this, I'll give you this reward, or if you don't do this, I will punish you. That is manipulation. That is not communication. So it goes all the way from childhood all the way up to the international scale. And you could think of it as threats and bribes. If the threat would be, if you don't do it, we're going to have sanctions, or we're going to do something else against you. And the bribes would be what have been known to be a way of doing business when companies go to other countries.